A Podcast Reborn does contain mature language and, more importantly, will contain spoilers for significant portions of the main scenario questline. You have been warned. Enjoy the show. From the many realms of Atheris to the distant reaches of the 13th via the magic of podcasting, this is episode 36 of A Podcast Reborn, a show celebrating our journey in the past, present, and possible future of Final Fantasy XIV. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, May 21st of 2023. My name is Brian Black, otherwise known as Ro, and I have a rank 11 island sanctuary waiting to be furnished in just a matter of hours. With me, as usual, are my two wonderful co-hosts, but we also have a guest with us as well. Making his return to the show since his last appearance in Patch 6.2 Hype, he's one of the hosts of the Core podcast and chairman of the Frog Pants Wrestling Organization. It's the craftless rogue himself. Hi, Jon Jagger.
Hello! Man, I feel like I'm not used to starting a podcast so quickly once I get on the call. I'm used to about hour and a half of conversation, and then we go, oh, right, we should record something. This is efficient.
Well, I did have about 10 minutes of pre-recording chatter. Had to warm you up a little bit.
Yeah, get me in my comfort zone. Like, John doesn't know what to do if we don't talk to him for a little bit before.
Also, of course, joining us for this episode of Patch 6.4 Hype is our resident cat mom, Chaos Gremlin, Savage Raider, and as of about a week ago, a new VTuber? According to her Twitter, you can call her Mimi or Mommy if you're feeling spicy. That's kind of awkward. I think I'll just call her Megan. Hi, Megan.
Hi. Yeah, well, I chose the username CatMom Megan because if it was like Megan WoW for World of Warcraft, then I was like, well, I don't play World of Warcraft anymore, and I was like, I could change it to Final Fantasy, but maybe then someday I won't play Final Fantasy anymore. So I was like, you know what, I'm always gonna be a cat mom.
So what you're telling me is Final Fantasy XIV turned your WoW life upside down, and that's why you became a mom.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
Thank you very much.
Good Lord, man. I mean, I feel like you should be proud of that.
I am. Because that was on the spot improvised. I am.
But yeah, I started doing VTubing. I created my own model and I rigged it, and I'm already working on a second one.
Nice.
That's just how it goes.
And so it begins.
I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's I have a very expressive face anyway, so like doing facial expressions while I'm streaming, I was doing them already anyway. Mm-hmm. So just having software tracking it, putting it on a cute anime cat girl, my final form. Not even my final form.
Oh no, you've still got to go to version 2.0 and then probably 3, 4, and 5, and then the 3D model, and then have your own live concert with the Butterscotch Battalion.
Oh my god. Like just little butterscotches dancing in the background. Oh my god.
I believe it was Wayne Gretzky who said, avatars are never finished, they're only abandoned.
Oh my god.
That's a deep cut. Of course, we also have with us an old man who is hugely disappointed in an ongoing live service game due to its lack of commitment to promised PvE content. Good thing that really isn't a problem in Final Fantasy XIV, right, Brandon?
You're darn right it's not, and I don't even want to get into it. That's how disappointed I am.
That's why I didn't even say its name. Enough said there. I'm sure people who are listening know exactly what we're talking about.
If you know, you know. But speaking of stuff we should know, did you guys know there's a correlation between the incoming summer season and an increase in Lalafell players playing tanks? Yeah, it's true. Days get longer, dark nights get shorter.
I think you should be proud of that too. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of pride on this podcast so far. People are really nailing it. It's going well.
I can't claim to have improv that on the spot. I have a Google Doc with all these, but hey, I'll take it.
I'm no longer a potato. I would
You're not.
to be no. I was going to go Viera originally for a little while, and then eventually switched back to Mikote because I just wanted to change. And then my entire rating team was like, we're going to be Lalafells so we can pretend to be a kindergarten class. So I changed to Lalafell for a while. But now I finally went with my plans to be a Viera. So I'll be a Viera for starting of the this patch, this raid tier, because we are going to be raiding. So that's going to be exciting.
And you are, I mean, man, I'm adding salt to the wound, I think, by saying this, but you did not get P8S done, yes?
No, we did not.
No.
Are you going to try to work on it, or are you just moving ahead?
I think we're just moving ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to have the crafted gear, we're going to have the tombstone gear, and we're just going to move ahead, and probably, like, maybe we'll go back and sweep it when we outgear it. I don't know. But, yeah, it was like, we weren't even getting into phase 2. So, it was, I could have kept going, but the team needed a break. We've been playing Terraria together and Jackbox games. We still meet at our raid times and like play games together to keep the team going. So got that going. Like at least the team didn't fall apart.
You had mentioned that on the last episode too, that you guys were doing that. And honestly, I wish more guilds, free companies and stuff did that.
It's really fun.
I'm not speaking as far as my previous guild, because AIE actually participated in a lot of side content activities outside of WoW, because they had a whole bunch of other games and stuff like that. But I think there's definitely something to be said for keeping the team together through content outside of just what you got together doing, because new experiences, I mean, heck, participating in new experiences and stuff could make you find other things that all of you want to do together, and that's cool.
Yeah, we were playing.
He said on a podcast with 2 other members of his former raid team.
Yeah, true. But I mean, think about it though. On our raid team, and like we were an AIE guild, raid guild, in WoW and stuff like that. But as a raid team, we didn't do a heck of a lot outside of raiding. As a guild, there was a lot of extra stuff, but as a team, we didn't necessarily do a heck of a lot. I think we tried a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, as a guest from the core podcast might exist because a few of us on the AIE raid team were like, please cancel tonight. Please cancel. We'd be sitting there acting like we wanted to WoW raid, and we'd be like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to have enough people. And then finally Tet they would say, yeah, guys, I think we're going to call it. And Scott and I would bolt and we'd be like, we're out. We're playing Heroes of Storm. We gotta go.
If you ever really want to work on the coordination of your raid team, you should play a game called Pico Park, where you're these little 8-bit cats that have to do all these different obstacles by like using each other as physics objects and stuff.
I've seen people like I've seen clips of that on YouTube where like all 8 are like connected together, so you have to work together as a team, because if one person falls down like one of those Super Mario chasms, it's pulling the whole group down with you.
Yep. Yeah, we always argue over who has to be PP Cat because nobody wants to be Yellow Cat. Or it's like last one has to be PP Cat. But yeah, I've been playing. Well, we also like split off into like groups of 4 sometimes because some people are wusses and don't want to play Phasmophobia with the rest of us. I'm giving Ward a look, and he's like, and then me and Ward and one of the other DPS and one of the tanks. I have like a Terraria world that we've been working on that we just play whenever. We just started hard mode. We just beat the boss to unlock hard mode, so that's fun. I'm fishing. I'm the fishing one, which I never do. But yeah, it's fun. Nice. And there's a game called Scriblio that we play a lot, which is like Pictionary. Oh, yeah. And there's the Jackbox. What? Wait.
Have you played Gartic Phone yet?
No, what's that?
So Gartic Phone is okay. If you know what Scriblio is basically like charades, right? Mm. Or like Pictionary.
Pictionary, yeah.
Scriblio is like Pictionary. Gartic Phone is like Pictionary plus the game of telephone. So you get a prompt you create a prompt for something for the next person to create a picture of. Then the next person in the chain sees that picture.
Oh, and they have to guess what it is?
They describe what the picture is, and then the next person, without seeing the previous picture, creates a new picture of what that prompt is.
I used to play this on paper in high school with me and all my artist friends. Oh, it was so much fun. That's great.
It's an activity on Discord too. So
oh my gosh.
In your Discord channel, you can do Gartic Phone and stuff like that. I have done that with actually a few people who I play Final Fantasy 14 with, and that can be very entertaining. You will probably want to make sure that if you are that everyone is adult and stuff like that, because sometimes people can let their minds wander, and when they see something, we have downhill very fast. I mean, think Cards Against Humanity levels type here, you know.
Look, we did drunk Jackbox night, and we did a t-shirt contest wherein you write slogans and then you draw pictures, and then you match slogans to t-shirts, and we vote on who has the best t-shirt. And you could draw or write anything, and a bunch of drunken. We were all adults for sure, but like, let's just say. It got pretty spicy, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, everybody knows when it's my drawing. We'll just put it like that.
Fair enough. John, I mean, it's been, as far as the show goes, it's been literally 8 months since we've had you on the last show. So I'm not expecting you to recount 8 months of Final Fantasy 14, but what kind of stuff have you been up to lately as the next patch is approaching?
I mean, honestly, I've been taking a bit of a break. I got really into player housing for a while. So that was a thing, is I took up a room in my free company, my apartment, or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, all right, let's decorate this thing. Let's figure out how this works, because it was just an aspect of the game that I'd never messed with. And I thought, let's give it a try. And I did. And I loved it. I had a really good time designing it. And so then I started the arduous process of trying to get a house. And it ended up being a really good time to do it, because it was right when they opened up more plots and all of that. Right. But through a series of unfortunate events, it did take me a little extra time to get it. The first time, I just didn't win. The second time, I did win for a free company only plot. And I damn near moved the free company's house to it because I wasn't reading the prompts right. It was really a lesson in reading correctly, because not only did I bid on something I had no chance of winning or possessing, but then when I did go there and they're like, hey, you want to move the free company here? I was like, heck yes, I do. And they're like, well, too bad. It's too small compared to what you guys already have. And I was like, that's probably for the best. Thank you, game, for putting in a series of checks and balances, because a free company would have been very angry with me had I been successful.
That wasn't Garrett and Kyle's free company, was it?
Oh, it 100% was their free company.
Oh, yes. Oh my god.
I almost went to Kyle and was like, Kyle, I got a real reading problem, and I think you need to demote me as soon as possible. The least amount of power that I can have in this guild is probably very important.
That's a terrific story.
So
for those not in the know, Garrett and Kyle's grinding gear on YouTube, check them out.
Yeah, they're doing great work, and they darn near had someone sabotage their free company house right after they had gotten their new one too. Like they just upgraded, and I almost relocated them to Ishgard. I'm like, hey, everybody, this is what you wanted, right? But I did eventually get one, and got a house, and then it was a weird mix. I got it, and I was like, yeah, I just need a small, modest house. And then I went in, and I was like, this is smaller than I thought. Should I start pursuing buying a medium-sized house? And I started thinking about it. And the thing that eventually got me to say, no, I shouldn't, was the fact that I still, to this day, have not finished customizing my small house. The apartment's done and great, but everything else I just threw a bunch of stuff in there. I was like, this is called good enough. And have left it alone since then. But it was fun exploring, again, an aspect of the game that I hadn't touched. And I think probably one of the biggest strengths to Final Fantasy is that there is so much content that is 100% optional that you can just kind of be sitting around and go, kind of bored. What do I feel like doing? Well, there's an entire game here that I haven't messed with. What if I went and tried that? And you might be surprised. Turns out it was something that I really enjoyed and do want to get back into. Right now, though, my biggest activity is fighting a temptation called, what if I just started all over again?
Oh, no.
They've got New Game Plus for that, John.
They do, but it's not the same.
You could just make an alt.
That's
what I do.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of doing, and I'm just. I've done this before, and it doesn't work out well for my mains. They usually wind up abandoned on a server that I never log back into. But I now have so much more. Like, what I would lose in doing it would be so substantial. I'm really trying to fight it. The only thing that's really keeping it from happening is I don't want to mess with my UI again, because I feel like that was the last thing I had to do.
Oh, you can save those settings and import them again.
Yeah,
so
but
that's not a big deal.
I gotta look up how to do it. Like, here's the thing. Here's what you need to know about me. There's a lot of things in this world that sound like not a big deal to, we'll say, 90% of the population.
So
maybe
you also have boomer grandma problems with technology.
But to me, they're a very big problem. People are like, John, why don't you just play Zelda Breath of the Wild? And I'm like, you don't understand. I don't know where my Switch is. I would have to find it. And then it would have to be charged. And then I'd have to update it because I haven't played it in forever. And then I'd have to buy the game. And then I'd have to download it. And I guarantee you by the time I've done all of that, I don't want to play the game anymore. And so this is a very similar issue where it's like, yes, I know, but I have to look up how to do it. And then I'd have to do it. And in the back of my mind through it all, I'm thinking, but what if the way my interface and keybinds are right now isn't the way they should be? What if this new character gets it right and my current character has it wrong? Maybe a fresh start is what I need. So
bring it into the other one.
Yeah, but then I still have to figure it out on the new character. I'm not saying that any of these things are logical arguments. I'm just saying they're the hurdles that I can't seem to get over in my day-to-day life.
I will say, if you have an alt that has the same class as your main, and like you have one spell that's just kind of on a different button, you will absolutely fuck yourself up going back and forth.
Yep,
I can attest to that.
I've done that many times.
It's 100% true. So I think the last time I was on the show, I did mention I was in a bit of a pickle because I had lost my UI settings. I hadn't backed them up, and there was a problem. It took months to get that fixed. I still don't feel like it's fixed. Like, I did the raid that from the last patch. Like, I did the content, but I only did it once because I was so uncomfortable with my buttons and my layout because I had gotten it good enough that I was like, I can't reasonably expect other people to spend time with me in these raids with how I'm performing. I'm a detriment to everyone around me. And so I still am not happy with it. It's been, I mean, Rose said it's been 8 months. It's been 8 months of being unhappy with my button layout right now.
That's too long.
It is.
Really
That's what I'm saying, guys. This is what I mean. Like, I'm a broken human being because not only am I unhappy with how my key binds are in Final Fantasy, but in trying to get it right, I changed the key bindings on my mouse, which has now impacted other video games that I play. I'm like, I'll press my side mouse buttons for that, forgetting that I had rebound those to be Alt and Control. And I'm like, why
gosh.
doesn't anything bind to these buttons anymore? So now I got to fix that, but I don't want to fix that either. So now Final Fantasy doesn't work the way I want. None of my other video games play the way I want. And I'm just generally unhappy about all video game experiences.
Well, at least when you start playing Diablo 4 in not too long, you're starting a new game from a fresh experience, so it won't feel like you're playing it wrong, question mark?
Yeah, but I'm like, I did think during the beta, I was like, man, it should be nice if I could like bind a health potion to one of these side mouse buttons. Oh, it's terrible. It's a mess and it's so fixable, but I just don't want to spend the time doing it. Like it just feels like game time is so precious that it shouldn't be spent on these menial chores. But I would enjoy the experience so much more if I would just do it.
Accessibility is king.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's important to be happy with how the game plays.
I am thankful to know that both you and I have yet to play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it gets Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't even touched the first one.
Yeah, and I won't even contemplate buying Tears of the Kingdom until I have actually played Breath of the Wild, because I mean it's a continuation of the story. It would feel like watching Empire without watching Star Wars.
Word was really into Breath of the Wild for a long time. I just never really. I don't know. I'm not big on like, I guess like big open world games. Oftentimes I just like get bored or get
Those
lost.
are totally my jam though. Like I played Skyrim, Fallout, all that stuff like crazy.
Well, yeah, but in Skyrim you could just go fuck with people. You can't really do that in Zelda. Also in Skyrim you can be an adorable rascally cat person.
And that's the important part, of course.
Of course. I remember I was a Khajiit archer thief, and like I would go around like I got a mod so I could adopt all the orphans. So I was going around stealing everybody's children and their gold. And I remember I gave one of the orphans like a knife. I'm like, here you go, it's time. So I like every time I come home, she's like stabbing the target dummy. I'm like, yes, I'm raising her well.
Oh my lord.
Brandon, have you been up to much as we get closer to 6.4?
Mostly just been trying to do a few of the remaining stuff on my Endwalker checklist I haven't pulled off yet. The big thing is that in my quest for a robot dragon mount, I am now 6 out of 7 of the Shadowbringers Extreme Trial mounts acquired. Nice. Yeah, I got we put together a group in AIE and got the started farming the Warrior of Light fight, because it's the one that requires the most coordination, even unsynced. Mm-hmm. And we reran it 9 times. We saw one drop on the very last pull, and I rolled a 90 on it.
Nice.
Wow.
So all I've got left is Emerald Weapon, which is one it's long, but that's just because there's a cutscene in the middle of the fight, and it's pretty easy to learn. So I've been basically keeping an eye on Party Finder going, is anyone running Emerald Weapon, please? I want my last dragon, because I want that robot dragon mount so bad.
Wow, you are all so much better at this game than me. You're all like, rating's really tough. I'm trying to achieve some real goals. I'm like, guys, I'm trying to get my keybinds right.
Well, let me see if I could maybe lower the bar a little bit as far as the three of us go. While Megan's doing Savage rating and Gang rank for Savage rating, and Brandon's going after mounts, I'm just living the island life. So kind of like you, John, you know how you got into this phase where like you're exploring a new part of the game with housing and stuff like that. It took me several months to finally get to the point, but 2 weeks ago, maybe it's been 2.5, I finally decided to continue my Island Sanctuary, which when I had abandoned it was at rank 3.
Oh, wow.
So I have brought it from rank 3 to halfway into rank 11 in just like roughly 3 weeks. That's been the majority of what I've been doing. That and finishing up the paths on the first variant dungeon. I've been Zim and I have been going in as a 2-person party and doing all those. Just yesterday, we did the final path, which has the quote unquote secret boss. My goodness, that boss is a handful for a casual player.
Which one's that?
I haven't even touched those. Like, I don't even know where to go to do them. They keep getting added, and I'm like, nice. But I haven't seen it, and I haven't touched that aspect of the game. I almost could say the same thing about Island Sanctuaries. I think what happened is, Endwalker is my first expansion where I was current on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm used to like getting just assaulted with content when I go to a new. I'm like, oh, Shadowbringers, and it's just like a giant piano of content falls on my lap. And now I'm at a point where there's still a lot of content there. Like I think a lot of Final Fantasy fans might say like, oh, we're in a bit of a drought. They play more and are better at it than me. They don't get hung up on keybinds like I do. But I think there's still in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'd just save all this up and have a content piano again when I decide to go back in, assuming I can overcome the urge to just start it all over again and have the biggest content piano possible.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good one.
The story's getting so good, John. You don't want to, man.
No, it is 100%. So I'll say this: I am current as far as like the raids. Trials are a part of the MSQ this go round, so trials too. But like, I think right now, Endwalker, as far as the end game content stories that it's telling, is probably better than any other expansion. Like, because when you think about like Shadowbringers, right? Like Nier was cool, but I didn't care about the story. Yeah. And that might be on me because I didn't play a lot of Nier. I loved how it looked. I loved the fights, but the story I didn't really care about. But I thought the Trials story was awesome. So I thought that was really good. And what were the raids for Shadowbringers? Why can't I think of what the raids were? Eden was good. And so, you for the most part, pretty solid. And I thought the ending to Shadowbringers was phenomenal, and I thought the intro to Endwalker was a little weak. I didn't personally think the intro to Endwalker was super exciting. Mm-hmm. But so that's the end game content from a really good expansion. Endwalker, I think the MSQ has been phenomenal. I think the trials as a part of that have been really good. I think the Alliance raid story is awesome, and I could see it turning into something. I think the regular raid storyline is awesome, and I could see it turning into something. So I actually think, like, as far as the story content that's being put out in Endwalker at this point is really something impressive, I feel like. So I'm very invested in it, but that didn't make me go to my Island Sanctuary. It just made me excited whenever there's a new patch. I'm like, all right, great.
Are you planning to dive headfirst into it this week as far as MSQ and stuff goes, or are you going to let it simmer?
I always say I'm going to let it simmer, and then I never do. I'm like, I'll let it simmer, and then it gets to be... Because I always, I think like a streamer these days, and it's like, oh, I should save that. That should be content. And then I look at these streamers that are like, now we're going to let all of you do the MSQ for a week, and we're going to start it next week. And I'm like, what a smart move. What a good streamer they are. That's what I should do. And then I sit back and I go, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stream it starting next week. And I sit there and I look at the icon and I say, but... I could play it now, and I could get as far as I want right now, and nobody would tell me I couldn't.
True.
And then by the next day, all the content's done, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm happier for it. I think
you could have a streaming alt or a streaming main and an offline alt.
Mm.
There you go.
That is true, but I would feel bad if my reactions weren't genuine. I would be so bad at the poker face of it because, like Final Fantasy fans, content vampires, reaction vampires. It's like, I want to see how they look at it. And I can't hide it. Like, if I already know, I already know. People would be able to see through it if I was like, oh, what's going to happen here?
Well,
what a surprise.
With streamers waiting a week so that everyone else can do it, I mean, you can almost make it sound like they're trying to be nice to all of us. No, they're doing it so that they get more people on their channel when we're done with the content. Because if they try doing it now when everyone else is, no one's going to be on their channel.
Yeah, no one's going to watch because we're content vampires. It's fine. It's fine that we're like this, but. Mm-hmm. We get done with it and we go, wow, what an emotional journey. I want to watch someone else take that emotional journey. Yep. And I'm going to go online until I see it. And that's fine. But I've come to terms with the fact that I am not a very good reactor to begin with. Like that's how you would know that my reaction wasn't genuine, is if I was reacting big. Because in truth, I'm pretty muted with my reactions. There's not a lot of like, oh, dang. If I'm doing that, I'm forcing it, because in reality, it doesn't matter what the moment is. It can be shocking and bombastic, and I'll go, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm the opposite.
That's not all you get.
I would tend to agree myself. I think I've only had a couple of oh dang moments in Endwalker and the MSQ in general. Nanamo apparently dying in A Realm Reborn MSQ. That was one of the whoa, they actually did that.
Oh, I freaked out when Robin like fucking ganked that guy.
Yeah, I kind of lumped that in with that though, because it's kind of like all one series of things.
I think it was like they showed like his arm falling off. I was like, like I didn't know they could even do that with the models or anything. And there was like actual blood. I was like, oh, shit just got real.
I mean, I did too. And like, that was for me like an insane, like key part of getting into the game. The problem is like, I'm a 10 minutes later kind of reactor. Like I see it and there's no reaction. And then it wraps up. And I sit there quietly and I close the game, and then it just builds inside of me. And the next thing I know, I'm on Discord being like, oh my God, I know you guys don't play Final Fantasy, but Phil got cut in half and then he got his arm cut off and it was crazy. And people are like, John, what are you talking about? Like, oh, good. But it's a long time after the moment. Like, stream would have been long over and people would have already been like, why doesn't John get excited about anything? Quietly after the fact.
It's a few minutes to process, people. Come on.
I do.
I'm the opposite. I'm very expressive. I mean, Brandon, you watched me play Stray for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Like every time there was a moderately high jump, you panicked.
I know. It's a kitty, okay?
I know. I get it.
It's a kitty and he's my furry son, and I must protect him.
My children had the exact same reaction while we were all watching you. I understand.
I was trying very hard not to do a swear.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just tend to I tend to be bigger reactions after I've had a chance to think about it. I think this is why I tend to be the kind of person that's more okay with spoilers in storytelling, is because when I get hit by it in the moment, my whole body just kind of shuts down and goes, well, let's think about this. And then after I've had time to think about it, that's when the reaction is. And that's why it's always a delayed reaction. But it's also why when I watch other people play through, like Shadowbringers, you get to Emmett. He does the, remember us, remember we once lived. Like that line in the moment, if you could have seen me, meant zippity doo dah. Like there was no reaction. I went back and watched it again and I'm like, why am I crying? Like it's just, it takes me a little bit of time to like, okay, take in the information. Let's frame it. Let's think about what it all means. And then it will hit me later after the fact. I can think of 2 times over the course of the MSQ where I had an immediate visceral reaction to moments, and that was the Seto scene at the end of Shadowbringers got me.
Yeah.
And similarly, the Moonbreeda's parents moment in Endwalker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do it.
Those two moments did not have to wait for a reaction out of me, but I think those are maybe the only two.
Those both got me as well.
I don't like spoilers because I went to school for screenwriting and I consider myself a writer and I like to write things, and I know that like nobody writes a story considering what you're going to know before you go in. So I kind of like to experience a story as the writer wrote it, if that makes sense. Like, nobody writes a movie thinking like, and this is what's going to be in the preview. So I don't know. I don't like movie trailers. I don't like game spoilers. I really like, also, I get really invested and I get really, I almost want to say like empathetic in a way of like, I'll make like the same facial expressions sometimes of people that I'm watching, or I'll just like, I don't know. I get very absorbed into whatever I'm experiencing. And so I don't like having spoilers unless it's something like, just so you know, the dog is going to die. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm emotionally prepared now. But like,
see, and I think that's what's interesting is because for me, it's kind of the opposite effect. So if somebody tells me, that, you know, something happens in a story,
I think
I now go in with an expectation of it. And my brain, because I don't live in the moment. Like, and I think this is why watching horror movies, I don't get particularly scared. And a lot of other things, like my wife is kind of like you, where she has a hard time with anything that's violent or gory because to her it's real and these are things that are really happening in the moment. And I'm totally disconnected from it.
I love gore and horror. So I think the other thing is that because I have such a writer's brain, if somebody tells me like, I don't need to hear what the twist is. Just hearing that there is a twist is a spoiler to me, because then my brain will start like trying to work out what it is, and I won't be like living in it. And I want to just.
Well, I think that's the shitty M. Night Shyamalan effect. Is it turned everybody into get ready for the twist for every movie, and it also made everybody so like, so sensitive to spoilers. Like it's really, to me, it's like, it's kind of just a bit obnoxious that we can't talk about movies anymore, because there's a time where you could use your...
There are certain movies where it's like, you go in and you pretty much know what you're getting. Like, you go to a Marvel movie, you know what's going to happen. And like, even, although I will say I was actually pleasantly surprised that they had the good guys lose at the end of Endgame. Like, that was genuinely unexpected. Now they could never do it again because it's been done. But yeah, I don't know. I like experiencing things as the creator wanted it to be experienced, you know? Like, not how the marketing team wanted me to experience it, not how, you know, whatever the culture wants me to experience it, but like as the person who sat down to create this thing, like, thought it should go. Like, and so I feel like spoilers kind of ruined that. Like, even just being like, oh man, this one part, you're gonna cry. I'm not gonna tell you what's happening, but you're gonna cry. And it's like, great, now I'm expecting a big sad moment, and then it might not even live up to it.
I think it's just a matter of different people and the way people process things differently. Because I don't think that's true. I think, like, I mean, not universally true. I think that's 100% true for a lot of people. But for me, I mean, you could say, right, like, if you're going for an emotional beat in Final Fantasy and I watch your emotional beat and I don't feel anything in the moment, am I feeling the way the author intended? Or am I feeling the way the author intended when I revisit it after I've thought about it, and now I'm reacting the way they intended to have that scene interpreted?
Your reaction, it's all about how it gets presented to you. So, like, the author intended for you to perceive this and then that, and like the order for the information to be presented to you. That's what the author intended, I think. It's not necessarily like the author wanted me to cry right here. The author wanted you to know, like, that this person knows this person does this, and this person does that, and then this happens. That's really tragic. And so me knowing that there's a tragedy going in, that gives me information that I shouldn't have yet, like early on in the thing. That's coloring all the information that I get up to that point.
Quick question.
Yes.
You have not seen the trailer for 6.4, I would take.
I have not. No.
Okay. Then
I generally...
that's good for me to know, because then I will not bring anything up necessarily that we saw in the trailer.
I'm generally okay with like video game stuff because I don't know. I'm more sensitive about it with movies because movies are so condensed and like the information is so dense and like TV, like miniseries TV shows or, drama shows where like the drama is really important. Like you're getting hit with so much information so quickly that if somebody spoils something that's way down the line, then it's like, well, that colors everything up to there. But like, games, they take a long time to play out. But yeah, I'm literally, I hate spoilers. I avoid them at all costs. But also I love horror movies and I love, I'm down for like, I don't like just straight torture porn because I don't think there's any point to it. Like I could be like, oh yes, that is a very visceral effect. But like, honestly, I've said this before. I like, oh shit moments. And like that can be a gore moment or it can be like a monster moment or it can be even just like a big dramatic thing happening. And I really like that punch, that impact. But yeah, I guess if you don't, if you're not like really in it at the moment, I guess, yeah, I can see that not being a big thing, but it really is for me.
I think there's value to both too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's I think as much as I just made fun of M. Night Shyamalan, let me make it about him again. Sixth Sense is a movie where I would not want to deny anybody the shock. I'm not going to go out there and tell anybody. It's just better if you know the ending to Sixth Sense, because I feel like everybody deserves to have that moment of like, oh. That said, I think Sixth Sense is a much better movie the second time you watch it.
Yeah, and also it's not the twist isn't the only good thing about it. It's like it's a very well made movie, it's a very well acted movie, it has a really compelling story, it has very good like drama and stakes and character arc and all and really scary parts of it. And yeah, and I think the best twists are ones that you could go back and watch it the second time and then be like, oh, I get more out of it. Like, I honestly, but I do think that, like, authors also intend for you to watch it a second time if there's a big twist or there's a mystery or something like that, because there's a lot of media out there like that, where, like, they'll intentionally put in clues and stuff when you go back and watch it the second time, and then you can, like, oh, man, I had all the clues and I could have seen it coming, but I didn't. Like, that's really satisfying.
Saw is... famous for shamelessly doing that at the end of their movies with the twists. It's like showing just the flashback montage of like, see, we're planning all these eggs for this.
The very first, I really like James Wan as the director, by the way. He's the one, he did the very first Saw movie and then left and they did all the crazy stuff after that. And legitimately the first Saw movie is one of those movies that actually legitimately got me with the twist. And like, I did not see it coming. And I don't know, like, but I just like his style. I like all his other films too. So it makes. I even liked *Malignant*, but you need to be a certain kind of moviegoer to enjoy *Malignant*, and I'm perfectly willing to admit it's not for everyone. But if you want an oh shit moment,
well, speaking of oh shit moments, as I mentioned at the top of the show. We are just hours away from this patch dropping, so
I'm not gonna finish my PvP.
Yeah,
I don't do that like all night. I'm probably not gonna finish it.
And I'm not gonna hit rank 12 on Island Sanctuary before the patch, and that's okay because it'll get there in time with the workshop. I just kind of want to go around the table in the time that we have left here and see like. Just exactly what you guys are all excited for, what you're hyped for. I mean, we've had the live letter, preliminary patch notes have been out. I don't know how much of that all of you have digested. I've looked at the preliminary patch notes. I've seen pictures of some new furnishings and stuff like that. I probably know about as much as anyone who cares to dig knows. So, Brandon, you haven't talked much in a while. How about you take it first?
Hey, I don't want to get wrapped up in the spoiler discussion
it's
because
fine.
I could get pretty heated about this with my particular take on it.
I know.
Anyway.
You showed great restraint there.
I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to be the one who's getting all argumentative about this for once. For me, it's the same thing with every patch. I'm diving right into the MSQ the second I wake up Tuesday morning and get that game updated, because I put in for 2 days off of work to play this patch across all my alts. Absolutely. I want to know where they're going with the story.
You're going to do it too. Wow.
I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll succeed, but I'm going to try for at least 2 of them.
I've got 2 alts I can play it, so I got to do it immediately for my raid team. But I could save it on Tarika, maybe do it on stream.
Mm-hmm.
But
there you go.
So, what content do you think you're going to do first, though? Because I mean, there is you're going to go straight into the MSQ, or because to me, it's like the MSQ is definitely. Don't get me wrong. Within the first 2 days, I'm going to do the MSQ, but to be perfectly honest, I'm more interested in the story going on right now with the raid, because stuff's about to get super, super real with, like, I have questions about La Habrea. I have questions about Athena. I have questions about why this castle is now in the Ethereal Sea. And I have a prediction.
Ooh.
Since Pandemonium is
predictions now? Are we doing spoiler predictions now?
I mean, more or less. I mean, because I'm going to say at the start of the show that there's spoilers and stuff. I mean, we're talking about 6.4, so I assume people played up through 6.3 content. But I think that without a doubt, without a doubt, we are going to encounter a fully what's the way to put it? A fully cognizant Elidibus. Like the Elidibus that we've seen in Elpis and stuff like that. Of course, that was before all the experiences that we had with him in the MSQ and Shadowbringers and the Shadowbringers post MSQ and all that. I think when we run into a Elidibus again in this raid, it's going to be after all the stuff has happened, after all the things that have happened with fighting him, defeating him at the Crystal Tower, the stuff where the last of him disappears as he sends us into Elpis. I think he'll remember everything from the past and the present, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he treats us or reacts to us when he remembers everything.
I'll be awkward. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Sorry about all that murder for your own good, but I think now you know it was for your own good. I hope he'll be on our side.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's right. It's like Elidibus in general has had a history of playing different sides of things, because just as his kind of like role goes, sometimes he has to like be on the other side to maintain the balance. So that's also kind of make me wondering, is he going to be on our side or not? Could he end up being a boss encounter in the raid? That would be crazy, but who knows?
I feel like Elidibus, oh god, my brain just fell out of my ear. The Elidibus as the Wearer of Light and the what are they called? The Ascian. Elidibus the Ascian is different from like Themis the Ancient, and I think that when you die, you go back to being more of your ancient self, which was like what we saw with Emmett Silk. So hopefully,
I mean, the entire time we've known Elidibus, I don't even know if you could call him himself.
Yeah.
He's pretty much been like the primal heart of Zodiark.
Yeah.
And who knows how much of that is based on the real person and how much of the real person we've even interacted with. A lot of that is very, very, it's almost confusing, but at the same time, it's not. I don't know. It's very well told.
It's like he had a duty to do and he was trying to do it. And I think it drove him a bit crazy. And and it was very tragic. And like when we got to see what he was like before, and now hopefully we'll get to meet him and we'll meet his soul like we met with Hythlodaeus and Emmett Silk, and he'll be back to his previous self, which I think is probably what's going to happen. Like, although I'm still like, why is Pandemonium here?
Yeah.
What's going on?
But to answer your question, Ro, yes, I am more interested in the MSQ story than I am in the raids. And
I mean,
that's just my general distaste for La Habrea shenanigans.
It's fine. I mean, I'm also excited for MSQ. I'm right now. I'm just ranking the raid over the MSQ. Not that the MSQ is bad. It's just kind of where my focus is. The MSQ is great. I mean, man, anytime I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy nostalgia. I know John's a sucker for Final Fantasy nostalgia too. You bring a boss from a previous Final Fantasy into Final Fantasy 14, I will eat that shit up.
Well, I went to bat for Fritra in the Husbando Wars, so I just want him to be happy with his sister. Which I know is probably not going to happen.
There. I really don't.
I just want it to be okay for once. JK, everything's been working out pretty well, so I'm fine with some horrible tragedy. I really thought we were going to have some people die in Endwalker with all the dark themes and stuff. But no, everybody lived, so I'm down for
there are things I want to say regarding that, but some of it's based on things I've seen in the trailer, so I will not say them.
I mean, we're so close, I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna hold out.
That's why I will be patient and I will not say anything about that either.
Maybe I will just live stream me playing the MSQ, even though nobody's going to be watching. Just
hey, if you live stream playing the MSQ, I promise you I will watch that VOD on your channel. Because John is right, we are content vampires.
Maybe I can. I stream on. I can wait till Wednesday, I guess, because I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, but I don't want to wait one day. Maybe I'll just stream on Tuesday. Just be like, fuck it. Guess what, everybody? I'm awake.
Surprise stream. Let's go.
I will not be streaming because I kind of told my boss I was doing some medical stuff Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's how I got the days off. So,
hey, man, you could go do medical stuff and then have to rest after.
Yeah. John, what about you? I mean, I think MSQ is an easy answer, but are there any questions you have, or are there any elements of the MSQ that you're interested in, or is there anything else from the content coming up that's really got you hyped?
I mean, who knows if we'll get the answer this patch? I think, with Endwalker being slightly different, you don't actually know. Who knows how, long this story is going to go. But I'm certainly curious as to who Golbez turns out to be, because I have to think it's somebody, right?
I think it's just Golbez.
But is he? Because in Final Fantasy IV, they decided to go all Star Warsy and be like, no, I am your brother. And it was a big reveal. And we know that
what if you don't Zero's mom?
Maybe. What if it? What if it is a shard of somebody? What if you just
that would be fucking hilarious.
Out pops Emmett Selk again, and it's like, surprise, is me again.
It's like, he's a clone, okay? And I left him on the planet, and then things went crazy. Look, it's not actually me.
Which admittedly makes not a lot of sense. But here's the thing: we do know that star was one of the first experiments that went too far and went bad. And we don't know who caused it to go bad. And we don't know the status of them. Do we know who?
Yeah, we do. It's the woman who you fight her. She merges with La Habrea during Heaven's Word. Igyorm, something like that.
It was Igyorm. They're the ones.
I'm pretty sure it's her fault.
Maybe it's Igyorm again. She just pops out. She's like, "Hi, I'm Golbez." Brandon remembered, but nobody else did.
She pulls off her helmet, and everybody's like, "What?" And Brandon's like, "Oh,
I knew it."
We're all like,
"Oh, for the love of God, not more Asian bullshit."
But I mean, that is the thing. Is I do believe that there is going to be some sort of reveal. I do kind of agree with what Brandon just said, which is Endwalker was supposed to be the end of the Ascian story. Now, you could argue that the Rage series that we're going through is saying but no.
And now you've hit the nail on the head as to why I'm not super stoked about it compared to the MSQ.
And you would be right, but I think it's fine for them to do a like little bow out story over there, like kind of bonus content. I think that's fine, but that's why I think that the stories they're telling have a lot of potential going forward. But I certainly don't think that raid story should be what continues, because then what was the point of Endwalker wrapping up the Ascians if we then did more Ascian stuff?
True.
So
yeah, I'm not looking for, in the raid, I'm looking for a satisfying conclusion to the story of La Habreas, basically. I mean, I feel that the raid lets you tie up loose ends with La Habrea and potentially Elidibus. So before the raid, it almost felt like we had tied up loose ends there during the MSQ, but let you do it again. But I've had questions about La Habrea as far as like who he was before he was just this Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Well, yeah, they have two Ascians that we've learned so much about Emmett Selk and various incarnations. But we have two that like we don't really know much about. La Habrea, because he kind of existed before they knew what all the Ascians were going to be. He's kind of got that like first, not a lot of lore and, early like mustache twirling villain syndrome. So I think it's good that he's getting a chance to, be explored. And then you have Elidibus, who we definitely got to know more, but by the nature of his character, we don't really know. And so I think it's fine that they decided to say, hey, look, there's these two characters that are pretty underexplored compared to our other Ascians. Let's tie a bow on it and present that if people are interested in that. And I think the story's been genuinely compelling. Yeah. But I am wondering, what's the next expansion going to be? Because for as good as I think the MSQ has been, I think it's been really good. We look like we're tying it up, which does raise the question of what's coming next. Because if you told me that this patch ends it and it's like, well, that's it, that's the end of the story, I'd be like, all right, that makes sense. Good on us. We did it. Now what's the next expansion? I don't know. I'm very curious is I guess the answer.
This brings up a problem that I have with the state of with the future of the game right now, because it's
with the future. Ro has a problem with the future, guys.
Yes, I have a problem with the future. The unknown future. No, here's the thing. We know that 6.5 that something happens in 6.5 that is huge, that is a game changer, and it sets the stage for the next expansion. That's awesome. That's great. Looking forward to it, whatever the hell it is. There's just one problem with 6.5. It comes after FanFest. No, that's the thing. It's like at FanFest, they're going to reveal. They're going now. Maybe, boy, wouldn't it be crazy if they didn't reveal the expansion at FanFest? They're like, we want to tell you about the next expansion, but 6.5 hasn't happened, so we're going to just wait a little bit.
They're just like, you have to guess what the expansion is based on Yoshi P's t-shirt.
It would be interesting if with 6.5, what if they didn't? They're going to, but I would love to live in a world where at FanFest, they don't announce the name of the next expansion. They do reveal maybe new job. They do reveal maybe some new systems and stuff they're planning, but they give zero story context. So
what if they reveal the name, but it's like something super vague?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be
funny. Feel like Final Fantasy, a new adventure. We're all like, well, you already did that one. They're like, a way forward.
Another new adventure.
A universe reborn.
Yeah, we're all like, what?
I mean, I've been telling people this like it's a fact that I'm fairly certain about, but they have in the past when they show trailers for the new expansion, like the first go has been in the past heavily edited, right? Not the complete thing, not the full music, not every scene. Right. So, I mean, they could be very selective. My plan at FanFest, which I'm going to, is to not watch any trailer that they show, which is going to be really hard because I do like living on the internet, and it's going to be really hard to escape. But I want to see and react to the full trailer because I don't mind seeing it. Kind of getting back on the spoiler discussion, I don't mind seeing it, but I want to see the full thing. I think of the Endwalker trailer, and I've seen people, again being the content vampire, I've seen people react having already seen that first trailer, and they're like, oh, the music's different. Oh, look, this scene. And I'm like, I want to experience that trailer the way I did before, which was the whole thing. I don't want to go into it and finally see the real trailer and go, oh,
I don't like teasers, different. Man. I really hate like we're just going to do a little bitty thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
but
it's tough.
I do tend to lighten up on my spoiler kibosh whenever I'm like getting on the hype train, and I will admit I'm very much on the hype train for whatever is coming up next in Final Fantasy. And like, honestly, even with seeing the trailer and everything for Endwalker and all the other ones, like you watch the the cinematic trailer before you go in, and like knowing that all these specific moments were going to come up, it didn't really ruin anything for me, or just, I don't know, because there were so many other things going on. That's the other thing, is like there's just so much happening in the MSQ. Like, you might have a specific moment spoiled for you, but you don't know what the context is. You don't know what's going on around it. And generally, a lot of the time, while that's a really cool moment, they tend to just show things that like you didn't even really get to see. Like, what I'm thinking of is, freaking Estinian riding on Vritra and fighting the blasphemies in the sky. Yep. Like, we didn't see that. We were like, bye, have fun.
Or they present something in the cinematic. They present something in the cinematic in an entirely different context.
Yeah,
exactly. They are very, very good about showcasing really cool looking moments with absolutely no appropriate context. So you still feel shocked by them when you see them in the actual game.
Well, like the way they Shadowbringers trailer with the gremlins saying,
no
life left to live, and then they make that an Emmett line later.
Yeah, they do a very good job of controlling their narrative, and I think Endwalker is a real testament to that, because I know that a lot of us, because I think Ro, you and I might have talked before it even came out about this. I don't know. I definitely talked with some people about this, but there was a kind of a feeling going into Endwalker where it was like, boy, this expansion's a known quantity, right? Like, we kind of know what we're getting. We're gonna get some final days business, probably final boss Zodiark, right? Like, that's what we're gonna get. And they did such a good job at taking what felt like givens and not just abandoning them and subverting expectations, but like subverting them in a smart way where it's like, no, we're gonna give it to you, just not in the way you thought, not in the order you thought, and
Zodiark
still
at level
give you more than you expected.
Yeah.
I know, that still was a moment where I was like, what are we doing here, guys? what is this?
I still think that the best thing that they did was make me sure that somebody was going to sacrifice themselves for realsies, even though like it's such a trope thing in like JRPGs of like your party sacrifices themselves, but then they all come back at the end, or like, they can't permadeath Y'shtola, she's a ball-jointed doll, like like, I was really nervous until the very end that, like, somebody was, like, in a lot of, especially, like, anime narratives, when they have a big cast and everything, you're like, yeah, they're not really gonna die. Or they're like, maybe they'll kill off, like, one person. But, like, they had hammered in, like, this is the end. Everything's over. That I'm like, oh, God, they could kill anybody. I don't know. And I was really invested the whole time. Like, I genuinely thought they might go there. And, like, that's skillful. That's rare. Like,
I thought Thancred was dead. I'll say this.
Sure.
For sure. Was definitely dead. I was like, well, they definitely realized they should have killed him last expansion.
Yeah, I was like, his story arc's done. Like he can go, like, you know, his rest or whatever. And that he was the first one and we didn't really know what was going on. And like we woke up and he's just gone. I was like, oh, he's fucking dead. Like I was so sure of it.
I feel like the order was very intentional with that.
Yeah.
Too,
I believed that one. Then Estinian went, and my wife was watching me play, and I looked up at her and I went, "They're all coming back."
I felt the same way.
Yeah, it was. I bought it until Estinian went, which is funny because I would also consider him. Sorry, all you Estinian fans out there. I would also consider him one of the more expendable ones.
I mean.
Send your emails to Jon at a Podcast Reborn.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't like him, but as far as like character arc, he's a very complete character arc. Like he's at the end of it. Not to say that it won't get more complicated for him. People are complicated things. Like he can become interesting again. But for what has been presented, Thancred was done, Estinian was done. Like
Urian J was kind of done too, really.
Yeah,
Urian J was there, but I feel like there's still so much more to explore. We can't until we see him swimming. there's always something more you can do with him.
Oh, that has to be Reich 16 Island Sanctuary. Urian J visits your island and you teach him to swim.
Yep.
So. Yeah, I was also really worried because, like, in like the opening monologue or something. And when we're like hearing Emmett Salt just like narrating, we have no idea what's going on. He was saying something about like, oh, the things you have to let go of, and they like focused on Tataru, and I was like, don't you fucking dare. Stay away from my adorable potato. Oh, I was also terrified they were going to kill one of the twins because that would just be so tragic for the other
they
one.
would have taken out both. Because I felt like the whole thing, I thought that if anyone was death flagged, I thought it was the twins because I felt it would be an interesting homage to Final Fantasy IV. Because in Final Fantasy IV, there were twins that, and I thought that they may have done the whole turn to stone thing. Spoilers for Final Fantasy IV. There's a pair of twins that end up turning themselves to stone to save the rest of the party.
Oh my god!
It could be, but they also pop up at the end, being like, "We're okay." So right. You know, like in a way, they did it just as much because you know everybody's fine.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
The closest I got to buying it was when Y'shtola does acknowledge that there's a way to bring them back, and then says, "But don't." And I was like, "Well, is that going to be like the thing? Is like we're going to end this, and they are going to still be gone, but we know there's potentially a path for them to come back."
Yeah.
That was maybe the closest I got to a little bit of doubt that this wasn't going to end with all the Scions coming back. But
I was still
pretty certain fairly early on.
Worried when we were going into the Endsinger and everybody had already been resurrected and we're going into the Endsinger. I was worried that there was going to be some other bullshit that they would have to sacrifice themselves for. I did not expect motherfucking Kool-Aid Man Shinryu.
That was a surprise. Yeah.
I want to talk visceral moments. When that happened, that made me go, oh shit!
Yes!
Because I completely forgot that Xenos was Shinryu.
I was so worried seeing Xenos walking up on Kryl, who's like another one of my favorite adorable tiny potato wives, and I was like, don't you fucking dare hurt Kryl. I was like, are we gonna come back to Earth and like find that like, yes, we saved the world, but we could not save Kryl, or like we couldn't save Charlian because fucking Xenos got there and wrecked that shit to piss us off. But no, he decided to be Xenos and just never do anything you think he's gonna do. That fucking man.
Instead, we lost Xenos, possibly the greatest character in
honestly, I love Xenos. I know that,
I love him too. I'm saying it because I'm pretty sure one of you doesn't like Xenos.
Yes, you are correct. Brandon.
I'm just gonna go on mute for a little while, guys. I'll be back.
He's great for what he is, and what he is an evil fucking
He was
bastard.
great for what he was. He should have stayed dead at the end of Stormblood.
Oh no, come on. This is great.
No,
Him rocking up a Shinryu. And it was
better.
like it was really great to be like, yeah, Dynamis, man, you just need a really strong emotion and you don't need to be using it for good.
Ooh, this won't happen. This won't happen. I promise you this won't happen. But imagine Golbez takes off.
I will uninstall.
Oh my gosh. I just want it to happen to make everybody that doesn't like Xeno super mad.
It was just like, hello, my friend. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. It's like, I know.
Well, Final Fantasy 14 had to jump the shark at some point. What other MMOs can I go play?
I mean, I'll say this, and I'll try and say it in a funny, as obnoxious way as possible. There was a time where I felt the way Brandon did. Like, I think that, like, when he first cropped back up, I believe my initial reaction was probably not unsimilar to, can somebody please stay dead in this video game? Like, it doesn't help that I played a lot of Yakuza before I played Final Fantasy. And I was like, it's a game series where people get shot in the head and then pop up later and they're like, but I was fine. And you're like, but why? You got shot in the head. What is going on?
I liked that, though. I like the whole, like, his soul running around possessing random dudes and being a little creeper. I thought that added a lot to his character.
But that's the thing is, like, so here's where the obnoxious bit to make Brandon mad happens. Is like, yeah, I thought that too. I think that's a logical way to feel in the moment. And then they show you what they're going to do with it. And higher-minded folk, I think, saw it for what it was and learned to continue to appreciate Xenos. And some people just couldn't get out of their initial dislike for it. But
just imagine
he grew into an amazing character. And
just imagine
he already was.
It had only been Fandaniel, okay?
He was literally the boss almost every time in that game. I just want to point that out. Can we take a moment to appreciate how many times Fandaniel or some version of him is a boss in Final Fantasy 14?
Yes.
It's a lot.
I just really loved Fandaniel and Xenos, like, bouncing off each other, and just, like, Xenos just being so fucking depressed. And Fandaniel just being so much. I don't know. It was great. I liked that. I liked their dynamic, and I found them really interesting and compelling villains, and like that they were just straight villains. Like, yeah, Fandaniel got some like sympathetic backstory, but it was like, oh, my past life, I don't even really remember it. So it's like we saw what his like previous soul went through, but like, no, Fandaniel's Fandaniel. Like, I don't know what?
I'm thinking about it. You're right. He has been the boss at least 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's Amon Zodiark.
Yeah, he's in Zodiark.
Amon Zodiark, the Amon the Undying,
and
Hermes.
You fight him as Hermes.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He's the boss a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
He was a very important boy.
I mean, you would think he was Xenos with the amount of times you fight him. not even Xenos you fight that many times. It's shocking.
Well, I think we're going to just about wrap things up here. But before we do, John, is there any last things you want to say about like just things you're looking forward to as far as this patch coming up or anything else? I know you try to minimize the time that you talk about Final Fantasy 14 on course. So if there's anything you just need to get out there into the internet, feel free.
So knowing Final Fantasy IV and knowing what the final boss of that game's name is does concern me a bit, because boy, do I really like Zero as a character. Apparently the secret to getting me to like a character is to name the character Zero. Just seems to be a general video game rule for me, and I'm just like, well, they named him Zero. I gotta like him.
Big Mega Man fan,
whoever it may, yeah, but not. But you know who's better than Mega Man X? Zero. By a large margin. So I really like Zero as a new character. I don't know, there's been this weird feeling in the back of my head where I'm like, man, a lot of people made it out of Endwalker okay.
They can't take her away, man.
Like people are definitely criticizing the plot armor that is starting to exist, and I don't think it's an invalid criticism. Like, And there's definitely like some concerns that
Man.
someone is going to get ripped from our cadre of people that we're forming, because it's just getting bigger. There's just more and more people hanging out. And I don't want it to be Zero, because there's my new favorite character. So, I'm sorry. A different Scion's got to go. And it's going to have to be... Hold on. I mean, I got nothing to... Yeah, he's right.
This is Thancred.
Thancred.
It does make sense for it to be Thancred, huh?
I kind of don't want it to be Thancred until Thancred can go back and at least
what if it was G'raha Tia?
I swear to fucking God.
you know the rage that Brandon feels about Xenos? Now imagine that rage in Megan if G'raha died.
Look, G'raha and Y'shtola are both too merchandisable to die.
That's a fair point.
I don't see G'raha Tia being made into a really creepy ball jointed doll.
Yeah, well, he will be. Believe me. He hadn't like joined the main cast yet. Y'shtola got made into a ball jointed doll during Shadowbringers. I'm sure they're gonna bust out the G'raha Tia one. Like the ball jointed doll market is definitely G'raha Tia fans. I'll just put it that way. Like,
look, the death of a character does not end marketability. They've been going to the Harsha font well for years now.
Sure,
that well has run so dry that it's almost a meme, and they still go to it.
Yeah, but they keep being like, "We're bound together through destiny, my friend. You and I, we are actually gay married, but we can't say that in case the player ships himself with someone else. But in canon, it's really you and me." Like, honestly, he's the fangirl bait. That they can't get rid of the fangirl bait. The fangirls will riot. The fangirls will quit. Like, who do you think is going to replace him? Estinian? No. Until they bring in a cuter, hotter male character, then G'raha's safe. Just like until they bring in a prettier, sexier female character, Y'shtola's safe. And you could say that Zero is, but no.
I think Zero, like, man, what if Y'shtola bit it?
I mean, Zero and Y'shtola play to two very different types of waifu.
You're not wrong.
Both are very valid.
Like, I think it's a guy, because the Scions are very male heavy.
Yes.
As my wife refers to. So there was a division in early Endwalker where you go with Thancred, Estinian, and Urianger, and my wife calls it Team Do Them Both because she doesn't like Estinian. But
see, I called it the Team Dad and Creepy Uncle.
But despite that, it did make me very aware, like how male heavy we have the Scions, and now you're bringing in Zero, you're balancing those scales, but there's another quicker way to balance scales. Don't introduce a new character, just get rid of an existing one.
It's not going to be G'raha.
Ori Boulder.
Urianger still needs to swim. Thancred still needs a good Reen visit somewhere in his future.
What if Thancred doesn't die, but he just goes back to the first and stays there?
G'raha's lived 2 lives now.
Yeah, he has. But he's getting to live his great adventure now, and he is also your soulmate and your love, and
he's had
devoted to you.
So
no, he's your canon husband. I'm sorry if you have trouble accepting
He went on Endwalker with us, and that was the promised journey. It is now at its end.
He made you promise at Endwalker that you're going to keep going on journeys, and then he went with you to visit the Shrine of the 12, so you're married now. Sorry. I don't make the rules.
I mean, as much as I'd like to say getting married means nobody can die, because I feel a lot more bold in my life. It's
I'm just saying, until he gets replaced by another beautiful boy, he's top beautiful boy, and they know how to keep the fangirls happy. Believe me, Final Fantasy XIV has a huge fangirl audience, and they do not want to piss them off. So until it's if they kill Thancred or Urianger, people will be upset, but they'll be like, oh, okay. They kill G'raha, oh my god. You don't even want to know about the people, the Twitter community that I belong to that I love.
I see him trend on Twitter for no good goddamn reason, like every couple of days, and I'm like, oh, geez.
Somebody's self-insert fic is making the rounds about Garaha. Okay, that's why it's happening, because we love him. And literally, a lot of fangirls are like, "Yeah, Final Fantasy 14. You mean Garaha Tia Simulator?" Like, honestly.
Oh boy. Well, I do think that Garaha is safe in this patch. I will predict that. But 6.5 is anyone's guess. Who knows? Maybe half our main cast dies in 6.5, but we're not there yet.
I bet that they get like banished, or they get like just sent somewhere that we can't get to, and then we have to find they did that in Shadowbringers, but I bet I bet it's not that they get sent where we have to go. I bet it's like they get sent somewhere else, and then we have to make new friends wherever we're going to go, and then at the end of the expansion they can come back and we can mingle and have them all meet each other. That would be my prediction.
I believe there's a meme from Top Gear that feels appropriate in this situation. Garaha Tia has been banished to another dimension? Oh no. Anyway.
What if everybody gets banished except Garaha? Will you just quit?
I like Garaha. I'm only picking on him because you like Garaha more, and I have found a nerve, and my reaction to as soon as I find a nerve is to poke it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
John, to be fair, that's like 99% of the reason why I keep doing it on this show.
It's like, it's the same way in like my life too. Like I get a bruise and I'm like, oh, there's a bruise on my leg. I push it. I'm like, that hurt. I push it again. Why did I push it again? I had already gained all the information that I needed on the first look and push, but there's a second push, possibly a third on the way. And
I will also vehemently defend the twins and Y'shtola. But like nobody comes for them. Oh, I wonder why.
The twins are young, you know.
Well, the twins are like, I would argue.
I don't want to see kids die.
I would say the twins are like secondary main characters. Like you're the main character, but they're like the NPC main characters. And Y'shtola, Booba, nobody can banish the Booba. Everybody's weak to the Booba.
I'm not going to dispute that.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. John, thank you again for taking some time to join us here. Hopefully, we can have you again a little sooner than 8 months. It's more my fault than anyone else's not to ask you sooner, but I love having you on the show. You bring a lot of great energy to it.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me come on here and explore the realms of everyone's nightmare scenario of losing characters they care about.
My pleasure. Feel free to take a minute to let people know where they can find you doing all sorts of other content shenanigans.
Well, if you want to hear me talk more about Final Fantasy 14, don't listen to the Core podcast because they won't let me talk about it anymore. But if you do like hearing me talk about video games in general, that is a good place to do it. And that is the Core podcast, part of the Frog Pants Network. You can also catch me streaming at twitch.tv/craftlessrogue and VODs of things that I stream and just weird other one-off videos. Go to my YouTube, which is also Craftless Rogue.
Awesome. Megan, where can people find your new VTuber self?
Well, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. PST. I usually stream for about 2 hours, and that's twitch.tv/catmom Megan. Megan is spelled Meagan, so all one word. That's me everywhere. That's me on Twitter. That's me on YouTube, where I also upload VODs. And well, I'm kind of working on another video, but it's not done yet. Yeah, and but on Tumblr, it's something else. But you can get that from my Twitter. Pretty much everything's linked from my Twitter, but yeah, I was streaming every day, but I need some time to do other stuff too. So I'm down to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Although I'm probably going to be streaming this Tuesday, MSQ.
And I will watch the VOD of that. I promise you. Brandon, where can people find you and your stuff?
Twitter.com/thebmat, THEBMATT. I've got links in my profile there to everything I've got going on, including to my Dungeons and Dragons podcast, +5 to hit. We're recording a new episode tomorrow night, which I'd completely forgotten about. So looking forward to that. Hope you all are as well.
I am very much looking forward to that, especially because of a certain crossover that session's going to have with something, possibly. That's all I'm going to say there. You can find me on Twitter at Podcaster Row. That's Podcaster RHO. You can find the show on Twitter at A Podcast Reborn, and you can email us at a podcastreborn@gmail.com. I also do a couple other podcasts, such as Hearth Casual and +5 to hit, as well as Brandon mentioned. We are a part of Bonus Roll Productions. You can go to bonusroll.gg to find out more about the show. Check out the shop, buy some merch should you be so inclined. Music for our show is from Alex McCullough's wonderful array of Final Fantasy XIV music. Do check out his channel. I'll include a link to that in the notes for the show. Of course, any Final Fantasy XIV derivative music that you hear on this podcast belongs to Square Enix, and no copyright infringement is intended. That's going to do it for episode 36. Have fun in patch 6.4. For Megan, for Brandon, for John, and of course for Royal Highness Butterscotch. This is Brian Black. Until next time, may your loot rolls be high, your glamour fantastic, and your duties always complete. Brandon?
Guys, it's finally come out. We know the real reason that summoners have lost their damage over time spells. Turns out they were just out of breath and coughing all the time. And somebody's like, dude, what the hell happened? They're like, well, my asthma, man.
That was a long walk up the mountain there.
That's not even remotely the longest joke I've set up on this one, man. Not even close.
Goodbye, everybody.